The old saw goes, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. The Wake Up Hour, where we help folks pull their heads out of the sand and take a serious look at what's happening. Because if you're not willing to look at what's really going on, you can't fix the problem. The Wake Up Hour, transforming negative realities into a positive future.
All right. What do we got
If you
here,
travel
Jason?
to St. Augustine, Florida, you can visit a place that some claim is the location of the Fountain of Youth. This spring is allegedly not only the waters that Juan Ponce de Leon sought, but actually found. Modern historians, however, were quick to call this claim into question.
Wow. Can you imagine having a Fountain of Youth right now? I mean, back then they were like you're searching for it, but what if we have a solution for that? What if we could show you how you can become younger or age slower, let's say? Would that just blow your mind? Jesse, what do you think?
That would be amazing because
Right?
then I would just do whatever I felt like, and I knew that, and I knew that I was going to live a long time.
If we could put we have this cure, we have this process where you could actually become younger. Maybe then we could switch around like Social Security, so you get it when you're in your 20s, and then you have to work until you drop dead.
That'd
right?
be amazing. It's like, oh, I got it at 30. Now I can just live off a pension. I like that.
But we are going to be talking today, guys. You're going to want to start getting on Facebook and clicking in because we're going to be talking about anti-aging, that where you could actually potentially have 30 to 40% increase in your life expectancy from this new science, really, that's going around and new techniques. It's just incredible what's happening and how it gets very little play out there in the pharmaceutical world and industry. I wonder why. I have no idea.
Jeez, yeah, I wonder.
Anybody wonder why?
Scratching my head over here.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we have Dr. Nelson Bulmash with us today, and we're going to be getting very deeply into Russian neuropeptides and what they actually can do. And if you didn't know anything about it, but it is a fountain of youth type of phenomenon going on here. And I think a lot of people are probably doing it who don't tell people about it, probably the Hollywood folks and people out there. But
the politicians, especially.
Politicians, yeah, I
That's
know,
why they're
yeah.
all still in office. Like,
Yeah.
you are 150 years old. What?
It's like the little people can't know this knowledge. You're not supposed to know this. But today we are going to be getting into it. First, before we get too much into describing our fantastic guest, Dr. Nelson Bulmash, let's talk a little bit about Doctors Who Rock Awards.
Hey.
Yeah,
You should
right?
have added like a rock.
You need to get that little thing set in there, right? Doctors Who Rock, guys, this is November 3rd, the big gala, which celebrities are showing up. We have a big dinner, award ceremonies. We're honoring these paradigm shifters, these thought leaders who are changing the industry, the medical industry, every second of their lives right now. It's happening. It's going. This integrated functional doctors are just transforming our healthcare and curing things that are said not to be curable. They're fixing kids with vaccine damage, and you see on the TV, Vax team's going to be there. Del Bigtree and Polly Tomey and Dr. Wakefield, the whole gang, and we have a whole bunch of other doctors and all coming around the world just to be trained through these conventions for the 3 days that they're there, and then having a big party with everyone at these tables. I get these Friday from like 4:30 to 10, and we have Pink from the drummer from Pink who's going to come talk about his experience areas right there. Mark Schulman, and he's going to be and the creator of Whole Tones. Yeah, I tell you what, he's going to be fantastic coming in there. Michael Terrell. It's just so much going on, and Whole Tones is cool because it's our hertz, what our music is vibrating at, is off in the United States. It's been off since Goebel and Hitler changed the whole hertz. I think it's 414 or was 414. And that is going to be sending out to everyone to actually see harmoniously the frequency and vibration of how it actually heals people. And it's just amazing, and we're learning now these days about frequency and vibration and healing methods, and we can get into a lot of that as well today.
Einstein said it. Everything is frequency.
Everything is frequency. You want to create.
Tesla said it too, but
Yeah, well,
Yeah, he should be given some
yeah.
credit.
It probably stole it from him.
Yeah, right.
Tesla gets nothing.
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 Yes.
So, you guys don't want to miss that. Go to doctorswhorock.com and start signing up for your tickets. You get discounts now if you get an early bird discount. If you start signing up now as well, You get a chance to sit in tables with these phenomenal doctors and enjoy awards and honoring what they've been doing in transforming the world. So go to doctorswhorock.com. All right. Outside of that, one other thing I should mention is ACIM. Dr. Cowden is hosting, and his crew is hosting the actual event, and United Intentions Foundation is the title sponsor. Yay!
Excellent,
Right?
excellent.
I know, right? All right, so let's tell you who we have today. Sitting next to me over here, Dr. Nelson D. Bullmash completed his doctorate of chiropractic from Chiropractic College. Since graduating, he has spent over 25 years building a clinical practice specializing in chiropractic and clinical nutrition, which is majority of our solutions to all our problems. There's a nutrition, and it's majority of our problems. He has spent over. He simultaneously completed two diplomas in clinical nutrition. Thank you. A national certification as a neuropath and a clinical nutritionist, and multiple advanced certification in nutrition. So I'll tell you what, it's all about what you eat these days. Dr. Bullmash has established himself as an expert in the health and fitness with an emphasis on strength coaching. You can tell you're a pretty built guy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you don't fool around. A lot of chiropractors I know, they're just solid. You know, they got the whole body mind thing going.
Well, he's like a world champion trainer for
Powerlifters?
yeah, right.
There you go. He has coached several American team powerlifters at national and international level, helping them to win gold, silver, and bronze medals. Now, that's impressive. Often testing new American and world records, he has proven chiropractic and nutritional care for athletes in the NFL, NBA, MLB, tennis, golf, martial arts, rugby, soccer, rowing, gymnastics, equestrian, cheerleading, volleyball, track, and field. Wow, you got the whole gambit.
Yeah, I did a lot of work in that area.
In powerlifting, you know, boy, maybe you could help my son work out so he doesn't hurt his back anymore. Dr. Bullmash is a published writer and speaker, currently residing in Alpharetta, Georgia, where he is founder and CEO of Health Matters. He's available for consultation and speaking, teaching upon request. You can reach him at health-matters.net, or you can call. He's locally here, 770-740-8228, 770-740-8228, and we'll talk more about what he's doing on his site as well. Welcome,
Thank
Doctor.
you. I really appreciate it. It's really great to be here.
Oh, listen, you are doing so many fantastic things. I mean, and you have done so many fantastic things already. Wow, training all these people on that. I mean, before we get into the Fountain of Youth and the solutions, and let our viewers and listeners tease them a little bit before we give them all these answers here.
Right.
How to look younger. Wow, why'd you get into weightlifting? What was the connection here?
I was a little kid, and I used to love to go for long walks.
You're
Excuse
fine,
me?
you're fine.
Okay. And one day I was playing at the railroad tracks, and they were putting new railroad ties in. And I found a keg that weighed 205 pounds. I was with my little buddies walking around the tracks, and I thought, no, come on. So I reached down, picked it up, and put it over my head, and I thought, wow, I like this. The feeling of being strong feels good. Yeah. And that started me in lifting. And before it was over with, I was a pretty powerful guy, but had a very, very severe injury when I was 22, where I ended up breaking my back in 4 places, and that's how I got into chiropractic.
Sound like Dr. Joe Dispenza's route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some similarity there.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I was ranked very high in the country and was hoping to win the national title at my body weight in college when I suffered this injury that resulted in 4 fractures of my spine that the radiologists agreed on, with 2 others that were open to question. So what ended up happening, I was fascinated by the whole idea of combining nutrition and chiropractic to help improve the ability of individuals to function. So what I did was I had to retire early from lifting, but my fascination for helping people never went away.
Yeah.
So interesting, I was given 3 kids who were incredibly powerful. My daughter's I got to coach my daughter to 7 national titles, 3 world titles.
powerlifting?
Oh yeah,
You're
she's
kidding me.
No. Ariel Bullmash, you guys can look her up. No, she's a 7-time national champion. She's a 3-time world champion. My son was ranked number 1 in the world and was a 4-time national champion. Some years ago, I entered 5 of my lifters into the national championships. 4 won gold, 1 won silver or bronze, and then 3 went to the world championships that year. 2 won gold, and 1 once again won either silver or bronze.
You know, that's just unheard of, honestly. I usually have, maybe one good one out of the crop, you know, and then the other two you have to kind of chase the rest of their lives. And wow, you know, it tells you some good parenting skills.
Thank you.
You and your wife, I assume, you give credit to. You share that.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I have to tell you this. So I was training all three of my kids actually one day at the gym, and I thought I'm going to get a drink, and so I stepped over to the water fountain, and my son and my older daughter didn't know that I was there. And I heard them talking, and they were speaking about their younger daughter, or my younger daughter, excuse me, their youngest sister. And my son said to my daughter, God, she's more talented than we are. So she went in her second or third time lifting at the gym. She had unofficially broken 3 world records. And then upon concluding her heaviest squat that day, she turned around, looked at me and said, Hey, Dad. I said, yeah, honey. She said, I'm not feeling this. The heavy thing on my back, not so much. So she's just as gifted in that way and other ways, but decided she didn't need to become a world champion.
Yeah, you know what? They're young, and they got the whole life in front of them, and they've already accomplished more so than most people do in a lifetime.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you know what? Once you get that that weight off your back, pun intended, you really are free to do everything you want to do. Yeah. And because once you have success in one area in life, you're more likely to have success in any other area because you believe in the power of intention. You believe that you can do it, you know, and that means everything,
right.
doesn't it?
And what's interesting is that they both have, my daughter graduated in a year and a half with a degree in biology and chemistry. She's now working on her PhD in it's a combination program.
No, that's a power family right there, huh?
Well, listen to this. This is so interesting. She's getting a PhD that draws from cellular molecular biology, biochemistry, pharmacognosy, and biochemistry. And my son is in osteopathic medical school. So, and he's doing very, very well. So they both did incredibly well on the world stage, athletically as well as academically.
Wow, that's just unheard of. And well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's I would say as a father, that would be my biggest accomplishment.
It's incredible. And we're waiting to see what wonders my youngest daughter does. She's considerably younger, but she's amazing, and I can't wait to see how her life unfolds.
Sure. A lot of pressure on her. All right. So
yeah, you're kidding. More than you know. Believe me, Tim. More than you know.
All right. So let's listen. You know, you have to realize, and I know you do, but I mean, out there, anti-aging, feeling younger, is such a humongous industry, $1 billion industry, because people just don't want to die, and people want to look good. We live in a world, especially the Western culture, is a world of physical actions, and it's not even only just physical looks on a superficial level. It's people want to be able to act young. They want to be able to do things
absolutely
and experience things and not have to like be an old woman or an old man and just kind of fade away in life, right? So you have discovered something, and I'm going to let you get detailed explain to our folks here what a Russian peptide is. And because I know it's in a string of amino acids, and, but what we have to realize is that, you know, the building blocks of proteins. And as a weightlifter, if anybody knows anything about proteins, it's you, because that's how you build mass and muscle, right?
Right.
So why don't you start from in the beginning before you get into how it's the anti-aging, but what is a string of amino acids, and why is that important to us?
I'll tell you what, could I step back a little further and give them some insight onto how this all became?
Go as far as you want.
It's a really exciting story, Tim, so I'm going to share this with you and the listening audience. So what happened was research was done in the 1950s and 60s. So that's when the whole peptide fascination began in Russia. The Russians wanted to really solidify their position as the superpower in the world. So it started there, but what really happened was once the Russians developed their nuclear capacity, they had some interesting problems. What happens, and I tell people, sometimes we don't have full command of our technologies, meaning we develop something, but we don't necessarily know the repercussions of what's going to happen from that technology. So they ran into a very interesting problem. They ended up developing nuclear capacity, and so their submarines and their ships were nuclear powered. What they didn't know is what safety measures would be required to protect, for example, particularly the submariners. So these guys are hundreds of feet down, and they have nuclear reactors that are leaking into the submarine. And so as you can imagine, by the way, this was classified for years. Sure, the Russians didn't want anybody to know that they were harming or killing their own military personnel. So what happened was these nuclear reactors leaked, Tim, and they ended up having a lot of problems with their young, healthy, bright military personnel. So as the story from the scientists has been handed down to me, they said the Kremlin officials said, look, to Group A scientists, you got to figure this out. And as it turned out, Tim, they only had a half-an-inch lead lining separating the nuclear reactors from the men. So there's a big problem there, as you can imagine. It didn't stop the ionizing radiation from exposing and affecting the
yeah.
personnel, right? So what happened was Group A scientists went to correct this problem. And of course, as you know, today they still use their nuclear capacity, and they corrected the problem. The Kremlin officials then assembled another group. And from this group, a legend emerged who is still alive and still doing research today. His name is Vladimir Kavinson, if you will. And so what he did is he took the original peptide work and he brought it to the forefront. And he developed tremendous skills in refining this whole neuropeptide conversation. So one of the things, for example, he realized is that the submariners had basically no immune system when they were exposed to high amounts of radiation.
Yeah, radiation poisoning.
That's exactly. So the first thing he discovered, so I'm told, is that he developed an immune peptide that helps fortify or rectify or retool the immune system, and that's called Vladinix. And then the second thing he did was he realized their endocrine system was shot. So he developed endolutin, which is a very, very, very powerful neuropeptide that oversees the endocrine system. And so it's fascinating because it all began from there. And then to answer your question, what he realized was he could develop with his team all these ultra-specific peptides that would help to reformat or retool damaged organs. And so to answer your question, what he did is he extracted from cows, organic cows, these short-chain amino acids. So the amino acids are the building blocks of all proteins. So anytime you have anything made of protein in the body, it's an assembly of amino acids. And so what he did is he figured out the proper configuration of these small protein chains that then would lock into specific docking sites on the DNA and would trigger the activation of genes. So the genes would then code for expressions of proteins that would then repair the damaged cells. And so you can use these. There are two basic ways we can go with this. One was that they used these to help repair, for example, damaged livers. I mean, all these guys had damaged livers and kidneys because they're the filtering.
Yeah.
Am I need to get a little closer?
Yeah, you go. That's fine. Just,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So
Damaged liver.
yeah, damaged liver. So he isolated these, and then suddenly people started to come back, in many cases, from the brink of death. I mean, they had no liver function, very poor liver function. So these peptides allowed for the repair and regeneration of organs, allowing people to live normal lives. Now, one of the things they did is they did a lot of animal studies, and they found that in these animal studies, animals routinely lived 23 to 38% longer.
Wow.
So you want to talk about the fountain of youth?
Yeah.
Just think about that for a
Yeah.
moment,
I mean,
and we can get into that in more depth in a second.
That's a hell of an ROI on your life. Huh?
Yes, exactly. And so their position is that they believe that humans can live 23 to 38% longer if they take these at the right time, and you don't have something catastrophic that does so much damage that there's no coming back.
Now, does it have to come from cows, or can it come from other humans? Is this
Well, the peptides that they're using, and this makes me sad, but I'm probably going to get jumped on from all my vegan friends when I say this, but what they do is they have organic cows that are grown, in Denmark, and then they extract the peptides in raw protein form.
So they
from
have to
these
get
animals.
they have to get so many peptides that it would eventually kill the cow, I assume.
Well, the cows are actually they're used for meat production, and then and then they
that's a
extract,
reality that we look at.
Yeah, exactly. So they extract the organs, for example, and then from there they get the crude protein. Then they isolate the peptides, purify and stabilize them.
Gotcha. Now, do they have to be alive when you pull these out?
No, they're very much dead.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so
Do
why-
they have to be cows, or can they be any animal?
Well, I'm not sure.
like pigs are closest to human beings.
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Or
really good
mice,
question,
really.
guys.
Mice would be really.
So, and I don't know what prompted them specifically to choose cows, but to my knowledge, at this time, the only animals they're using are cows.
Cows. Okay. Well, fair enough. And it seems like when you had to tie Russian Russian name to it because of Vladimir.
Vladimir,
right?
yeah, Kavinson.
And so why is this not like on every media step right now in the United States? Why isn't we not talking about this? Because it sounds like you're looking at a 30 to 40%, 20 to 40% anti-aging response. Why would this not be everywhere?
Well, in all fairness, there's a really interesting story behind your question,
All right.
which is in 2009, the Nobel panel picked three co-laureates for discovering that telomeres, the caps on the end of chromosomes, could foretell life expectancy, meaning their length could tell how many more cellular replications the body could go through before it no longer had cells to replicate. So what happened is when the Nobel panel announced that these three people would share the Nobel Prize in Medicine that year for this discovery, the Russians had a fit. They said, well, how come you haven't given it to us? And so the panel said, well, why would we give it to you? And they said, well, because we discovered this in the early 1970s. And they said, well, how come we didn't know about that? Well, you know the answers. Sadly, the Russians, particularly in the United States, don't hold hands very well. So,
well, it's a shame because they probably do on other levels, but for whatever reason, they're not meant for the media's sake not to. And what upsets me too is, like Jesse, I was just thinking, why is this not on Fox News? Why is this not on MSNBC? Why are they not sharing, or why doesn't the FDA or the CDC share this type of information? In fact, my understanding too, Doc, is that they don't. You could only in the United States could utilize from the food supplement, not from the actual injections like they do in Russia.
right.
And so they water it down, and think how more effective it would be if you were able to use injections like they do in Russia.
Well, you're certainly correct, Tim. When you get help via these peptides in Russia, the first thing they do is give you injectables. They're much stronger, they're much faster acting, and then they put you on the whole food, because ultimately the whole food supplements are really the ones that create the permanent cellular change.
Gotcha.
But I want to say one more thing to finalize my story, is that one of the reasons you don't know about this, in all fairness, is that this was all classified for decades. It wasn't until several years ago that this information came out.
Freedom of Information Act?
No, it wasn't.
Just,
I don't even think it was that. I think that the
Internet.
Kremlin said, you're not going to share this information.
Gotcha.
And so I literally know the man who went to these scientists and said, hey, let's talk for a second here.
Yeah.
You got a problem, and I think I can help you with it. And the scientist said, what problem do we have? And he said, you have a problem that you already discovered what the Kremlin needed from you. So they're not giving you. I mean, you have to understand, the Kremlin gave millions of dollars for the discovery of this technology in the 1970s, right? So what happened was the Kremlin no longer needed them to continue their research. They did exactly what the officials from the Kremlin wanted them to do. The people got better. So what happened was
God forbid people get better,
Right.
This definitely would be anti-Agenda 21 and 30, Jesse. So I don't think they want people to get better. That's probably why they want it out, but go ahead.
No, that's okay. So what happened was, my friend, I don't know if he wants me to use his name, but he went and he met with me and he said, look, you got a problem. You don't have enough money for your research.
Right.
Let me take this to the Western countries. And so now I'm one of his top people. We bring in a lot of peptides to the United States. And so we're doing everything we can to not offend the sensibilities of the FDA. And these are all we use are whole food supplements. These are just extractions from cows. So if you can have beef.
Does the CDC have a little, talk? They have a little website to talk about on the website at all, or there's just hush hush, nothing on there?
I don't know that they have anything. I haven't checked with the CDC, and once again, I don't know. This is so new.
Yeah.
There aren't many people even doing this yet.
It's hard for me to believe that the power brokers up above in the United States are not, because they do everything in secret. If you haven't realized that yet, we are not living in that free country that we think we have been.
Right.
And so I'm sure they're testing and working on this, and I'd love to get verification on this, but it's not being allowed out to the public for whatever reasons,
Well, and you're right. I do know this. I do know there are scientists here in the United States who are working on synthetic. They here in the United States, there's a very important distinction you want to know here, Tim, which is these scientists grew up in communist Russia, so they're not entrepreneurs. They have no interest in taking this out to the Western countries and making billions of dollars
and rocking the boat.
Yeah,
so we do have a question on Facebook, and they're asking if peptides can come from vegan sources, or does it have to be from cows?
I can only answer your question this way. I don't know of any research that has been done. Mm-hmm. That's the most honest answer I can give. I don't know of any research where they've attempted to use non-animal peptide chains to do this.
For our future scientists out there, that's a great way to start investigating, looking in there. So
right.
back to what you're saying. You were just saying how the scientists.
So the scientists are working on something that will be the next multi-billion-dollar revolution.
Right.
Meaning the whole idea, Tim, you're talking about the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
The idea of being able to re-lengthen telomeres so that you have more cellular replications
What is
available.
telomere?
The telomeres are the caps on the end of chromosomes. And these caps protect the chromosomes, but also, once again, we want to focus on that the length of these. So longer telomeres gives you more ability to replicate your cells.
So the longer we live, the smaller or shorter, or they start deteriorating. These we call them telomeres.
Yeah.
They start deteriorating. These caps that keeps the chromosomes strong and able to reproduce through our DNA process. Right.
So the shorter they get,
the
shorter your potential remaining life expectancy
for that organ, for that area of the body,
Yes.
for whatever it may be. 'Cause
Yes.
it's throughout all our body, our
That's
DNA
right.
and chromosomes.
Yeah.
All right. So I get that. And now, how do you guys know that you're adding 20 to 40% life expectancy? I mean, how do you get this data? 'Cause
Great question. And here's how we have that data.
Yeah.
Because all of the animal models, all of the different, including with monkeys they used, all had an increase between 23 and 38% life expectancy.
So if our average age is dying at 75, let's say, so you're looking at, we go into the hundreds at this point.
Yeah, they're estimating that the average person who takes care of themselves and uses this technology will live to be 110 to 130 plus years.
Well, that's if the toxins don't kill you before then, but you
Yeah,
could
valid point.
you could detox from that as well.
Yeah.
But you're more likely to handle that.
Yes.
Your immune
Yes.
system. And does this affect the lymphatic system at all? These amino acids?
Well, here's what we're
because
finding.
that's underplayed at all and everything.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. What we're finding is that the body works better. I mean, the patients who are using these collectively, and listen, I want to be really careful here. I don't want to pretend this is a panacea.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
What I can tell you is most people in our practice are very, very happy at the success, the improvement of their overall health.
Well, and they won't know until they start, they don't get killed in a car accident. They live until 110. So you really know the effect. Because how do you measure that other than living longer,
Well,
right?
here's one of the ways you measure it.
And it's so new,
Yeah, no, good question, and I'm going to answer that. So there are two labs in the United States that actually measure the length of your telomeres. And so one is Elizabeth Blackburn's, who does, so if you look this up, she's on, if it's okay if I give her a plug?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, www.telegears.com. For $89, you can go online, order an in-home blood stick test, send her back your sample, and she will tell you in 3 to 6 weeks how long your telomeres are. So here's how you answer your question, Tim. You give peptides, the Vladinix and endolutin, which are known to increase peptide length.
Yeah.
And then 6 to 12 months later, you do a redo. And what we're finding is the telomeres, in fact, are lengthening.
20 to 40%.
Matter of fact, I can give you a really cool story if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
So a patient of mine, I did not get her on the telomeres. The person who brings the peptides in the United States got her on the telomeres. So anyhow, she's coming to see me for chiropractic and nutrition. And she brought in her original telomere length lab test.
Yeah.
And so at 60 years of age, I think she tested in the 44th percentile. She said, whoa, not okay. I am not going to live less than 50% of my cohort.
Yeah.
So he got her on these telomeres. Well, 8.5 months later, she's in the 89th percentile for her cohort. So he takes this to the World Anti-Aging Symposium about 3 or 4 months ago in Geneva, Switzerland. And Cavinson allows him to do a 2-hour presentation on his research, which is lengthening telomeres. Because here's the thing: in Russia, once again, they knew that the peptides lengthen the telomeres, but they didn't put a lot of time and money and research into finding out how much.
Right.
All they wanted to do was get their military personnel
back into
function, a functional state.
Yeah.
So they were shocked that in less than 1 year, a person could go from the 44th percentile
to 89%.
To 89th percentile.
That's just phenomenal. And so let me ask you a more detailed question about that. So these telomeres, when you say this doctor who measures that, you can measure your increase in length. So you could get a test now, and you say you're at 45%.
Right.
And 6 months from now, you could test it again, say you're at 55, 60%, whatever it may be. Are they just looking at a certain telomere on a certain organ, or is it, once you fix one, it affects all of the telomeres?
That's right.
How does this work?
Well, what it does is the peptides cause a global change in the body. So
I mean, talk about like trillions
yeah,
of, you know.
that's right. That's you don't understand now why I get so excited by this. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a science whose time has come and who this is going to explode.
Yeah.
You know, I heard it said many years ago that you can't hold truth down. Eventually, truth emerges.
Yeah, 3 phases,
And, yeah, and this is one of those truths that this is going to get out to the public, and this is going to explode.
Well, it already is. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, and you're on the front lines of this as
Right.
well. But at the same time, you seriously have organizations, corrupt and compromised organizations, all the way from this federally funded. I mean, you taxpayers to pay for them to keep this information away from us, from the FDA, the CDC, all the different 3-letter organizations out there. How are you going to get this out there? Where now, because this is, you know, could be $1 trillion industry, right? But you're looking at $1 billion industries, the pharmaceutical companies, where they don't want you to heal at age. They want you to die younger because
Right.
they want you sick because they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The vaccine damages alone,
Yeah.
they make a lot
Sure.
of money. You know, so when we get back from break, let's talk about how do you go from where this great cure is for aging to where we can get this on the mass level so people can actually find this and cure and live longer.
And the answer is continued education.
All right, we'll be right back with Dr. Nelson Bulmash. Phenomenal discovery, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Get ready to rock and roll. This is your invitation to the Doctors Who Rock Awards Show, a black tie gala celebrating integrative medicine's rock star docs who have changed the scope of healing and wellness. We'll be honoring doctors who have left their mark, including Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, Dr. Hal Huggins, and Burton Goldberg. Notable recipients also include Dr. Joe Mercola, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, the VAX team, and founder of the ACIM Get Your Life Back Now conference,
I'm sure I'll be able
Cowden. And that's not all. We've invited celebrity guests to rock with us, featuring Pink's drummer Mark Schulman, Michael Tyrrell, creator of Whole Tones, and many more. Come join the party Friday, November 3rd at the Florida Hotel in Orlando, in conjunction with the ACIM conference, and meet these superstar docs up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at www.doctorswhorock.com. Proceeds will go to our scholarship fund to help med students achieve their dreams of helping people get their life back. What are you waiting for? Buy your tickets and party with Doctors Who Rock.
All right, we are back with Dr. Nelson Bulmash, talking about the fountain of youth, basically. I mean, science now has caught up to where you could actually extend your life 30 to 40% if you don't, if you stay away from the pharmaceutical drugs and you don't get in a car accident and you detox yourself from all the detoxins in the glyphosate in the food and the fluoride in the water and the nano-sized metals in the air. I mean, so you almost have to have a couple of, preventative processes in place and then at the same time extend your life because everything kind of working against you until people wake up and realize we got to take our country back and take our medical field back and grow it into an integrative functional process and shift our mindsets. We're going to be dealing with these negativity issues going on. So we left it, Doc, before we went on break was, okay, you have a lot of these organizations that don't want this information out here because, look what they've done already. They already limited that you could only use it in a food source at this point. You can't do the injectables like they're doing in Russia and other places, which are showing phenomenal results. How do you get past this?
Well, you play by the rules initially, because if you don't, you end up not being able to play at all.
Or you disappear.
Or you disappear. Yeah. Scary thought, but sadly true.
Either or.
So one of the things that we do is we're using the whole food. So it'd be no different. The difference here is that instead of eating a steak or instead of eating liver or heart, what the Russians are doing is they're extracting these peptides and then purifying and stabilizing them. So, you're actually eating them. It's just when you cook the meat, for example. Sorry,
you're fine. Go ahead, keep going.
So, in other words, when you cook the meat, you denature the protein. So,
gotcha.
what they're doing is they've developed this incredible technology, and it's very time intensive, and it's very difficult. Not for the synthetics. I understand the synthetics are very easy to make, but not the whole food.
But why? Okay, what's the difference between the synthetic? Because when we say the word synthetic, everyone gets a cringe. You know, the people in the whole food world.
Yeah, me too, right here.
Right. Yeah, no, I got you guys. I understand.
But is it a big deal? Or
yeah,
no?
it's a big deal because you're extracting tiny protein chains from tissue. And it's so easy to destroy the tissue in the process. So my understanding is that was one of the hardest things, was to actually extract and stabilize without destroying. I mean, these are really tiny chains, 3-4 amino acids in length. So they're very, very easy to denature, to destroy in the process. So it's my understanding is it's very, very labor intensive.
Right.
And so, the synthetic isn't. It's like producing a drug. So if you do go to Russia, what they do is they do the injectables first, and their deal is, we do that first because they're much more powerful and they're much faster acting. But they make it the point very, very clear. That's a short period, and then you go to the whole food base, because it's the whole food based peptides that ultimately do the real retooling or reformatting of the cell that lead to the relatively permanent. And I say relatively because you've got to periodically every year do a reboot by doing 2 to 4 boxes, and each box has 20 caps.
Okay, so on a cellular level, what you're talking about, which is good in one sense, because for the permanent change or the ongoing change, you need to do it through the food source.
Right.
So, but what's going on with the cell? I mean, just for our little microbiologists out there and our chemist minded folks, when you take this food source supplement, because I'm familiar with how their cell the gonads creates brand new DNA never seen before if it's in the right state of being and it's interpreting perception of the signal coming in to create it and it's not being distorted. But what are these supplements actually? How do they affect the cell if you could go there to recreate new DNA or new proteins so that it continues on? I mean, what's the process?
That's a great question. Thank you. I'm glad you asked that, because once again, so these small chains go in and dock, right? They dock like a big ship in port. And when they do that, when they lock into the DNA, they cause the DNA to activate its gene expression. And when the genes express, what they do is they code for protein synthesis. So you're reformatting, rebuilding the cell. And here's the neat thing, Tim. Every time those cells then replicate, they're stronger cells than the cells before.
Because they have more the telomeres.
Well, not just that, but
Right.
but yes, but they're stronger cells because they've been revamped, they've been retooled. It's like remodeling your house. So you're remodeling
New paint job and
You got it, yeah.
new shutters.
Right.
All right.
So you're remodeling the cell, and the cell is stronger. So
when you say stronger, you mean like the cell membrane stronger, the food processing, you're processing food, cells processing food quicker, you're secreting better. You mean,
well, I don't know if you're processing necessarily faster, although you might be. I haven't read any research
we're
on
talking about
that.
a super cell here. Come on,
That's
you're
right.
turning these cells
Yeah,
into
yeah.
supermen, superwomen. All right.
What we know is that
How do you measure that, though? I mean, that's easy to say, but how do they measure that cell's stronger?
one of the ways that you measure it is that you live longer.
Oh,
and
okay.
so you have more competence of the organism. So
They won't break down quick. Yeah.
But also, here's the interesting thing. There are many different kinds of peptides.
Yeah.
So they have muscle peptides, for example. And what we find is in research that people who take the muscle peptides perform from a muscular perspective much better. So they jump farther. They can run faster. They can lift more. So the cells are more competent to perform better.
Right. Yeah.
So there are a variety. They live longer. They're stronger. There's just I can give you all kinds of little research sites,
This
but-
superficially,
yeah.
and that makes sense to me. And what I like about that too is there's so much new. I sit here and I interview the fascinating people such as yourself, Doctor,
Yeah.
and I just hear all these different signal. I know you're familiar with signal transduction,
Right.
And it's all about using technology now to enhance your cells so they can recreate new cells to be a
Yes.
better, more super cell, right? And I don't know how signal transduction would work with telomeres and things like that, but it just seems like we have all this great new technology that's coming out, and people are, and this is great because this is adding to it. Are there any they don't see any side effects to signal transduction at this point? Do you see any side effects to the peptides at this point?
This is really interesting for me, this interview, because you and I did not know each other before this interview, and you're asking me these really great questions. So let me answer your question this way.
All right.
The Russians wanted to know the answer to that, so they did two different things. One
So they
is
experimented on their people, It's kind of like what we do in the United States, but at least they tell them directly over there.
Here's the thing. These are incredibly safe. They did studies where they gave 5,000 times the normal dose that should be administered, and they had no problems. No altered kidney function, no neurologic function, no cardiovascular function. They found no indices, no parameters that they checked were negatively altered. Then they said, okay, that was a one-time deal. Let's take these peptides and let's give 100 to 1,000 times more than traditionally given.
Yeah.
And the same thing. There were no side effects, meaning the body can only allow for X amount of docking to the DNA. So when you've saturated that, it just doesn't use the rest, but it doesn't create problems.
It gets excreted out somehow.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's kind of like CBD oil, like the CBD oil phenomenon going on right now.
Right.
There's no side effects to that at this point.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
they've done tests where you can do a lot. Wow, that's incredible. You know, when you don't have, and honestly, guys, there's something like our mind, our body, really, our mind is a walking pharmacy. Every type of pharmaceutical drug that's given to us, they pull from our biochemicals in our brain and they amplify them, or they
Right.
You know, so they're not creating something new to cure you. In fact, nothing cures you, Doc, and tell
Right,
me
you're
if
right.
correct, except yourself. You
That's
heal
right.
yourself.
Yeah.
You just allow these things to either enhance, like supplements enhance
Yes.
you, or
Right.
the pharmaceutical things, they suppress a certain symptom so
Yeah.
your body can learn to heal itself.
And they weren't, you know, I want to be real clear about this. They, once again, they weren't developed to cure. They were developed to help people repair, regenerate, and recover.
Well, I mean, radiation poisoning. I mean, come on, how worse does it get than that? You
Not
know?
a whole lot.
You know, and plus, you know, you guys know that in Russia for many years in the 70s, microwaves were banned because of how much radiation was putting out.
Right.
Now we're in Georgia is this 5G movement where we're going 5G, so we're like EMFing ourselves to death, literally. You'll probably see a rise in cancer in case something doesn't change. But all the applications of something like these Russian peptides could assist with this overindulgence in and exposure to these electromagnetic frequencies, couldn't it?
Well, yes, what it's going to do is it's going to make the cells stronger, so they'll be able to withstand more.
Wow, this is too good to be true, you know? Almost too good to be true. People tell you that?
They do until they start taking it. And, you know, once again, here's the neat thing. I do a lot of testing. And so what I do is I tell people, look, you know, try it. Now here's the thing. You don't take peptides for brief periods. What you do,
it's a commitment.
It's a commitment, yeah, because, and you can do it different ways. The Russians were very conservative originally. I mean, they did, you know, 20 days, and then they might not do anything for 6 months. So what's really interesting is I'm actually giving them feedback about what I'm doing here in the United States, and they're fascinated by it because mostly they
They're
don't.
not allowed to experiment. They're not allowed to do it because otherwise they, you know, still, you know. I mean, I don't, that's amazing to me because this is like such a phenomenon, such a phenomenal discovery that it seems like everybody would be jumping to it, and just like everyone's just kind of slow to the march.
You know, it's like CBD oil. It's the
Yeah.
same thing that people are afraid. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. You know, is I have people who still
I gotta
ask
trust
me-
my doctor. I don't want. He says don't be messing with that. Stick with the allopathic medicine.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, for example, if I have a really, really bad infection, I'm going to take antibiotics.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know,
it's integrate. It's an integrative approach. I mean,
thank you.
I jest, but I do it more so just to stimulate these allopathic doctors, your traditional doctors,
To think.
that, you know what, you got to incorporate the functional medicine into your
Right,
practice. Otherwise, you are going to become a dinosaur and a stooge for the pharmaceutical and defense industry right now. So get out of that mode. Stop worrying about that dollar and start doing the right thing. And because otherwise, you can lose all the trust of your patients eventually. So this is the movement where we're going. There's no stopping it. People like Dr. Abulmash over here is leading the way. And so please get the integration aspect in play and come to Dr. Zarak and meet all these life-changing people. All right. So, so okay, that's just amazing how you have this new cure, no side effects. They're extending life from anywhere from 20 to 40%. You're by the simple scientific aspect of it, and you're saying how these amino acids dock into the cell, and they can only take so many, and then the rest are excreted out, right? Just like on almost anything else in that sense,
Right.
So outside, only negative thing I could see, and I don't even know if it's even negative, but it's probably a positive thing for people like you who are involved in this type of technology and discovery. But you have to keep taking it for the rest of your life to keep enhancing your telomeres on the ends of the chromosomes.
But it's not as bad as you might think. Here's what I mean by that. So if we have people who come in who have a lot of damage to a particular organ, we may start them on anywhere from 2 to 6 peptides, capsules, for each peptide per day. So let's say you might come in and you might take 6 endolutin if you're in really bad shape, or 6 for the heart, or 6 for the liver. What we do is when we get you stabilized so that lab results indicate that your organ function is now competent or acceptable within normal parameters, then we can pull you back off so you go on a maintenance dose. So yes, you're going to take them potentially for the rest of your life, but when you go on a maintenance dose, depending on how much damage was done, some people might only need to be doing 20 caps every 6 months to maintain the status of whatever they have.
And it can be measured, like you said. It can be measured based on the length and of the telomere. So kind of just neuropathic doctors, and it's just my experience. I've only been new. I'm kind of new to this to the homeopathic world. Maybe 2 years in, 3 years since I've been doing this and discovering it.
Right.
So I'm a little late to the party. But I'm
you're here.
I'm definitely at the party, and now I'm hosting parties.
Right.
So I just think a lot of people. Okay, Jess, we're going to take a break, and then we'll get back. Let's talk about how this new discovery can actually enhance other areas in your life other than just longevity.
Excellent.
All right?
Excellent.
Okay. We'll be right back with Dr. Nelson Bolmash, discovering and enhancing and learning all about the fountain of youth and anti-aging through the Russian peptides. You're going to love this. We'll be right back.
Another great topic.
Yeah.
You are listening to The Good Intentions Show, sponsored by the United Intentions Foundation and UnitedIntentions.org, a virtual community where you learn to create, track, and manifest your passions, one intention at a time.
And boom, we are back. And we are talking with Dr. Nelson Bolmash. Again, if you want to reach him, you go to health-matters.net or call him. My God, listen, he's giving his phone number out. Give this guy a call. 770-740-8228, 770-740-8228. That's his cell phone? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not giving a cell phone out.
All right, so we left on break talking about this is pretty simple. And you know, for me, from my little limited scientific mindset, how you enhance your longevity by securing the chromosomes in your body with the end caps, the telomeres that keeps it secure and unfolding and falling apart, which is how we age. So now we know it. Say I take everything safe for word. I'll do my research, or other people do the research, and they'll verify, and they'll try them, they'll get on it, and they'll make their own mind up. But how do you know this discovery of Russian peptides can affect other areas in your life? I mean,
I'll share a couple of stories with you. So I had, as an example, I had 2 CEOs in my office who started this, and both of them were having some problems. One had surgery where his Achilles had to be lengthened, and so he took a variety of the peptides to help him recover. And 11 weeks outside of Achilles surgery, where they cut his Achilles to lengthen it in 3 places. Pretty serious surgery.
Yeah, Achilles tendon. That's can't do much with that.
No, and historically, people who come in with that kind of an injury usually are pretty hobbled after even 6 and 12 months. I mean, they still have a limp. After 12 or so weeks, he has almost no limp. And he said to me, this is mind-blowing. My doctors can't even believe this. I have almost no limp when I had this surgery done 12 weeks ago.
So what happened? Tell me, go into the cellular. What happened in that process? Why the Russian peptides made him where he doesn't have a limp anymore?
Well, because it caused such a tremendous recovery. I mean, we go into repair, we go into regeneration.
Right.
So it so dramatically improves that. I had another guy come in and he said,
it's creating new DNA never seen before to address that issue, right? Because well, maybe not seen before, but new proteins.
Well, I won't say that you haven't seen it before.
Okay.
But it's the necessary proteins to help with the repair and regeneration.
Okay.
So it causes that gene expression to say, hey, we need these proteins to repair this damaged part or this incompetent part of the cells.
Right.
So I had another guy come in and he said, Nelson, I just wasn't happy with my brain function anymore. I'm in my 50s. I had a particular IQ when I was in school, which was quite high, and it's definitely less. I'm just not getting as much out of my brain as I wanted. So we put him on some peptides, particularly for circulation and the brain and central nervous system. He came back and he said after 2 months that his IQ test, two IQ tests that he did were what he scored in college.
You're kidding
me. No. So, there are different ways to measure this. And
sure.
once again...
Well, how soon was that? Did he increase
2 months. Now he was taking these peptides every day.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
the Russians will tell you that you can do the minimum dose you can do is 10 days on, 20 days off per month for a year before you go into maintenance. That's the least. So if you're not willing to go a year, minimally at 10 days on, 20 days off of the peptides, it's not a conversation you should have. Meaning it's not something you should investigate. It's not a supplement you take for a month or two.
Right. Gotcha. Well, that's just fascinating. Now you're looking at increasing not only your IQ, but also right now there's a lot of people talking about it, whether it's candida or something, other issues. There's a lot of fog, a lot of that attention deficit. I equate it to all the nano-sized metals that are being put into the air, but I wonder how that affects that. I guess it just strengthens your cells so that it's not so negatively affected by these nano-sized metals. I mean,
well, once again, and I want to be really, really clear. And the Russians are too, by the way. They say, they've actually done research where they've tested people who just take the peptides with no nutritional support and no alteration of their diets, and they do better.
Yeah.
But the people who alter their diets and people who take supplements do dramatically better.
Yeah. You see, that's what I did notice about the neuropathic ways is that as you take supplements, normally in the allopathic medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, you see immediate changes in your body because you're dealing with heavy doses of these certain things, a lot of side effects, but you see the change, and so it gives you the sense of confidence that, okay, action, decision, action, I've seen the results. But with the supplements and not just these Russian neuropeptides, just supplements in general in the neuropathic industry, it's a commitment over time because you may not feel different, but you're addressing these undiagnosed symptoms that you're walking around every day with,
right.
And over time it weedens out, and they can measure it through different technology.
Absolutely.
But it's a slower process, but it's a more commitment, and it's a more faithful process too. I'm finding that you have to have faith, not only through the power of your intentions, but through faith that this is how it works on a slower process. It's more preventative, and what you'll find over time is you're less sick. Your back less hurts, less things over a period of time, maybe months or years, whatever, but you are dealing with those undiagnosed symptoms through this supplemental preventative process. And it seems like the neuropeptides is the same element of that process too.
Yeah.
It's a long game, right?
Yeah, it's a long game. And what you're looking at is it improves the quality, function, and performance, not only of the individual, but of their organs. So you're taking the weakest components of a person's system, their body, and you're making them stronger. So they're no longer the weak element, weak link in the chain, for example.
Yeah, wow. That's just phenomenal. I just think it's just incredible. Now, I know this is just one aspect of Dr. Bulmash's of practice and what he does, but why don't you share some other things that you're doing? Because you're a fascinating man, really are.
Thank you.
You've done so much, not only in the sports world, but now working with a lot of these functional doctors. We just talked about Dr. Cowden. You're doing a presentation for them later on. So tell me what else you're working on. What other projects interest you outside of creating world champion children in powerlifting?
Thank you. I'm an innovator. I'm a pioneer. I developed my own system.
I can see that right now. You can tell that in people, Jesse, when they walk in. He's a shaker and mover.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
One of my proudest creations is I developed my own system of care. It's called Torque Reset. So what happened was I would go to these events and I'd have guys come up to me and say, "Doc, I just strained a muscle. You got to fix this, or I'm not even going to place. I'm not going to be on the podium."
Torque Reset. Okay.
Yeah. And so, in other words, I had to develop ways to work on people so that they could literally continue, for example, at a world championship. And so
with a sprained back.
Yeah, exactly. And so, over the years,
Boy,
it's really...
I could have used him freaking 3 weeks ago. But go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So what's exciting is I was up to the task, and I said, I got to figure this out. I'm going to be a combat chiropractor, meaning if we're out in the field somewhere and somebody goes down, I'm going to figure out... I can't say, well, I don't have my tools, I don't have my table. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get people better. Years ago, when I met my wife, and I'm talking about 25 years ago, I was out hiking with her, and I stepped off of a log that had fallen across the trail and re-aggravated in a big way my low back injury. And my wife looked at me and said, no, I am not carrying you out of here. I'm, 110 pounds. You're 240 to 260. It ain't happening. You better figure it out, son. And so what happened was, somehow I got out of the woods that day, which was very difficult. Right. But I had an epiphany in that moment. And that epiphany was, you better figure out ways that if somebody ever goes down in the field, so to speak, whether it's we're out hiking somewhere, or we're at a world track and field or a world powerlifting, you can do something to help people get back into the game. And so that sparked an interest that really accelerated this. And
Well, what's the secret if you could share it?
the secret?
Yeah.
You having any trouble with your wrist or your forearm or anything?
Not right now, but
All right, let's check this out here for a second.
okay.
So, for example, your wrist goes really well this way,
Yeah.
not this way at all.
Yeah.
So we come in here.
Whoa.
no
now move
kidding.
it.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Yeah, that's torque reset. I developed that.
You hear that crack?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're the radio.
Yeah. So what I did is I reset your radial head and I reset your carpal bones. So now
Okay.
that works better. So
Yeah.
here's the thing: if you're benching 600 pounds
Yeah.
and your wrist is that locked,
Yeah.
you're going down. You're not going to get your third attempt. That third attempt could be
Makes
the
all the
difference.
difference,
right?
yeah.
Between you winning gold and not even going on the platform.
Wow.
So that's another one of my very, very passionate creations that
Well, I'll tell you, that's phenomenal. That isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Now, also, one of the other things too is the focus unit. Why don't you share a little bit about that? 'Cause I
Love
think-
to.
I
Love
find
to.
I find that just fascinating.
So you're going to think I have a fixation with
He's-
Russia and
he's-
the Russians.
Now, listen. Let me tell you something. The Russians are great people and the great leadership at this point. And I don't care what propaganda is being sold from the powers that be up there, creating this fighting with that. But I'll tell you what, you got to read between all the lines
Yeah,
and figure it
yeah.
out. But on the level of the Russian people and the level of the American people,
Right.
we're great people, and there's
Yeah.
no reason why we can't love each other. all right?
Why
and
can't
thank
we
you.
be
friends? right. So, here's the thing. I would like nothing better than for all of us to play nicely because their scientists are brilliant.
Oh, they're
And-
brilliant. I mean, it's just brilliant. I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
So one of the technologies, once again, that they developed decades ago was neurofeedback.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the pioneers of that.
Right.
And so the focus unit is a handheld device that uses synchronized pulsating light and sound to create entrainment in the brain, which means it retrains
left
the
and right brain.
Yeah. So it trains the brain to produce brainwave patterns that are more optimal for an individual. That means, in many cases, some people can eliminate anything from brain fog to anxiety,
Attention
insomnia.
deficit.
Yeah. These are real specific brain issues.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm very integrated. So
Yeah.
you have brilliant people like Dr. Pompa who teach, he's got a whole protocol for helping to detoxify the brain.
Right.
And it makes the brain work dramatically better. And so you really have to bring all these together. So I have my own loves, my own passions that help me bring what I bring to the party so that people can feel better, perform better, think better, and have greater quality of life.
Mixture that the focus unit plus the neuropeptides plus not neuropeptides but the Russian peptides. You have just like this perfect little recipe for feeling better, thinking better, living better,
Right.
living longer. It seems like everyone needs to be just getting involved and at least vetting it out and seeing what's valid or not and testing it, right?
Yeah. And, once again, I mean, we've had a handful of people that don't necessarily notice anything.
Yeah.
Most of them, however, are in really good shape.
Yeah.
The majority of people who come in that aren't in such great shape,
It may take a little more,
and
maybe a different approach.
And
too.
once again, the Russian scientists say don't even render an opinion for the first 3 months.
Got you.
Because we're talking about dramatically refurbishing or reformatting.
It's the long
cells.
game. To me, it's a long game. Either way, it's just what I have learned, and I've let go of my expectations in the neuropathic health field that I'm going to get cured immediately. Like I'm going to have the same effect I would if I take some pharmaceutical drug. You got to let that go. You got to realize it's a long game, and it's dealing with the undiagnosed symptoms, and then you're less likely to find yourself in a hospital for a heart attack or for
Right, exactly.
a serious cold or flu or whatever. So I mean, I get that. I get that now. I didn't before. I'm like, man, I want immediate gratification, man. I'm used to that. I've been conditioned to
Of course.
be that way.
You're an American.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But it makes sense how it is something that over a period of time. So you have these aspects. What's next for you, Doc? I mean, what do you do for fun?
It's funny. I remember hearing a quote years ago that you can't tell the difference when a master's at play or at work because work is play and play is work.
Yeah.
And that's really how I lead my life. I mean, I work very long hours. I'm very passionate about my family and friends. So I find a way to balance all of that. But I have a great wife, and my wife said to me, honey, look, the kids are basically grown. They're doing their own deal. And they had they all had a meeting with me, did an intervention, said, "Look, Dad,
Let us go.
yeah, meaning in other words, look, we're doing our own thing now. You need to get back and start really getting out into the world and letting people know about the brilliant work that you do." So
You sound just like me, I
Yeah,
tell you.
exactly. So we want you to go out and so what I'm doing now is I retired mostly
Yeah,
about a year ago after my daughter won a big international championship. She got engaged, and so I'm developing my work. And I'm constantly looking for what I think are the most unique and effective ways to help people be the healthiest they can. Because here's the deal: we all want to be self-actualized on some level.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not enlightened, but
Right.
in other words, we all want to be able to play at the highest level possible for us, and we want to be able to enjoy life, however that looks for each of us.
Well, it's fascinating because, I mean, you really are, and I had an idea, but I didn't know until right now, you are a paradigm shifter.
Yes.
You're on the edge of collective consciousness, and
Yes.
you're making things happen, and you're self-actualized to the point where you're bringing it, you're creating a zero-sum game, a win-win situation. You're able to live and have your life, and at the same time bring so much to the table. And so I just find that just fascinating what you're doing, and God bless you with all coming your way, because you have not only a bright future, but you're touching so many people that it's just it's like people don't realize how many people you touch until you have like a Jimmy Stewart, that movie where he dies and people you don't realize how many people you touch.
Right.
It's a Wonderful Life. Until you have that moment, you really don't know. And I'll tell you, it's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, because people that you just meet for one moment and they change their life, they can reach thousands of people.
You're right.
So we need people like you raising the frequency and the vibration and the and making this headway in the integrative medicine process, because it's shifting, it's changing everything. So thank you for coming out and
It is
sharing
my
sharing your
pleasure.
brilliance.
Thank you.
I wish you all success in life.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me. I look forward to working with you more in the future.
Oh, listen, we will definitely. It's like when I always say some people are get a chance to meet each other, and some people are meant to meet.
Right,
so
right.
I think it's one of those moments.
Well.
All right, so guys, listen, thanks for listening in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Wow, today goes by quick, the hour. doesn't
Very,
it?
very quickly. The story of my life. It's like it starts, it's done. We sleep, we start over again.
All right, today is what, Jesse? Thursday, and we have
Lee Jenkins.
Lee Jenkins running for mayor tomorrow. We're helping out the community of Roswell and getting them to know their leaders more on an intimate level, and I think we're looking forward to that. We had a chance to have Michael Linton, and we're looking for the other 3 candidates to come on board, waiting to hear back from them. So anyway, enjoy. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Be there, be square, and enjoy your day. Bye.
Take care.
Take care.